Good evening and welcome to the January 12th, 2023 meeting of the Abington Township Board of Commissioners. May I have a roll call, please?
Commissioners Brodsky, Rothman,
Here.
DePlacido, Vaughn,
Here.
Thompson,
Here.
Weingrad,
Here.
Henry,
Here.
DePone, Carswell,
Here.
Spiegelman,
Here.
Bowl,
Here.
Schreiber,
Here.
Bowman,
Here.
Vice President Vehy,
Here.
President Hecker.
Here. Thank you. Please note that Commissioner Sapone is excused this evening. May we all please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the
republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. I have no announcements this evening, so we'll move right into the agenda. And what we do first is we will take public comment on matters that are on the agenda this evening. If it's an agenda item, please come forward. Now, if it's a specific, okay, just want to be clear, because we have open public comment at the end of the meeting.
Okay. Hello, you started?
Just
I'm
your
here
name
this
and
evening.
address for the
Okay.
record.
Adele, Adele, and my last name is Kubel, 1848 Ambler Road, Abington, PA.
Good, thank you.
Okay. I'm here this evening to ask several questions. I am not getting responses by leaving voicemail messages or email. I am hoping to get answers this evening to these questions. Please let me finish. This is brief. And then please respond. I won't need a 30-second warning. Why does Solicitor Michael Clark and Manager Manfredi refuse to strongly address commercial blight?
Ms. Cabell, this is not on the agenda this evening.
No, it is.
No.
Because it is. You're messing up my time.
No,
now.
I'm informing you that the comment period for things that are not specifically listed on this agenda are at the end of the meeting.
This will cover everything in Abington.
Do you have a comment on something that is specifically on the agenda this evening? If
Yes.
not, you will have the opportunity to comment, to make your remarks at the end of the meeting.
This is on the agenda, okay?
So please explain which agenda item you're addressing.
You didn't pass out the agenda.
It's actually on the table out there, and
No,
it's on
it
the
wasn't. It was just a
website.
paper.
It was.
Maybe you put it out later.
And Ms. Cabell, it's on both screens in the room,
Where?
both sides of the room.
Maintenance, for sure. Maintenance, for sure. Overcrowding, for sure. Lack of availability, for sure, of the administration.
Yeah, that's not on the agenda, Ms. Cabell. I'm going to ask you to take your seat, and you can make your general comments at the end of the meeting.
Fine. You did also, I noticed you started running the timer when I was saying my name, so you shouldn't do that.
Well, I would have given you the extra seconds for that.
Okay.
For sure. Okay. Again, I'll remind those who are here and those who are on Zoom, this public comment period is for those matters that are before the board for vote this evening. And if you have a comment on one of those agenda items, please come forward and share your perspective. Good evening.
Good evening to all. My name is Yanni Giannopoulos. I'm a resident of in Elkins Park at 345 Cedar Road.
Thank you.
I'm here tonight to address, BOC-03-011-223.
Okay.
The title is Motion to Approve a Preliminary Major Subdivision and Land Development for 365 Cedar Road.
Thank you.
So 365 Cedar Road is my direct neighbor. And I'm wondering, I sent a presentation, a very brief presentation, to 4 or 5 councilmen. I don't know if you received it. I was going to ask you to share it so I can speak about it.
We don't typically share, no, but we'd be
you don't
happy
know?
to pass that out, and we can make sure that it gets circulated to all members of the board.
So usually, how do you do it? In print form or electronic form?
People either bring things to enter into the record, or it's distributed electronically in advance.
Okay? So I have the following questions. Tonight, I was told that it's up for approval or disapproval, the preliminary major subdivision and land development for 365 Cedar Road. My first question is this. Why a PennDOT HOP or highway occupancy permit was not included in this preliminary plan package? I believe a permit like that will change drastically the plans that you have in front of you tonight. My second question, what will happen if PennDOT's HOP will be negative and they'll ask the developer to increase the curb radii per code? Would he have to resubmit his plans after your preliminary approval tonight? My third question, why is the applicant asking the township to provide him a waiver on an issue that has no jurisdiction? The curb radii fell under the state's jurisdiction, not the township's. Cedar Road or State Route 2058 is under the state's jurisdiction. I don't think there is any reason for the township to adjudicate this waiver. My fourth question, based on his latest application, he is asking for 3 waivers: the curb radius waiver, the use of plastic drainage pipes in lieu of concrete ones, and the use of 3-to-1 slopes. I believe the township's laws specify that you have to include a hardship to ask for these waivers. He is not listing any.
Okay. Sir, I'm going to ask you to wrap up so that we could address some of the questions. We're beyond the 3-minute comment period.
And my last question, Paul Yanessa, what is his function in this application? He's listed as the owner, and as of this morning, I checked Montgomery County, the land still belongs to Victor Yanessa, not Paul Yanessa. And the whole package, even though it's close to 400 pages, it does not include any legal document that represents a power of attorney or anything that legally tells him to stand here for Victor Yanessa.
Okay.
That was my last question.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Manager Manfredi, do we want to try to address some of this here or at the time that we deliberate the agenda item?
It is really up to you. It can
Okay.
be addressed. I believe Mr. Hassan is on the call.
Yeah.
Is happy to address all of the waivers.
Well, why don't we just
at
do
that time?
We'll do that at that time. Yeah. Okay. So our engineer is here with us this evening virtually, and we'll go through all of those points as part of his review.
And I don't know if Solicitor Clark has any comments he may want to make on the legality question, but we can do it at that time as well.
Can we do that at that time, Solicitor Clark? Okay. Thank you. Are there additional folks here in the room that wish to make public comment on the agenda items this evening? And just needs your name and actually whether you're a resident of the township or not. We don't need your actual
No
address.
problem, that's fine. My name's Bob Hirschberg. I am not a resident of your community anymore. I'm in a neighboring community. I came here this evening to talk about your responsible contractor ordinance. A little bit to sit here this evening is, first of all, a privilege just to tell you who I am, where I came from. My wife and I started Hirschberg Mechanical 28 years ago in Abington Township. My story here is I'm a high school graduate from 1989. Pardon me, this isn't like my forte in my life, but I'm going to be honest with you, it's a passion that I do have. So I really felt it was important for me to stand here. My first plumbing master license that I attained was at Abington Township when Larry Dwyer was your plumbing inspector way back when. I guess the reason I'm telling you my history is because history is important to me. and what we do is important in these rooms, and the decisions that we make in these rooms affect everybody in these communities. It affects people in ways that you guys may not understand, and I have firsthand experience, and I wanted to share it with you. First of all, I want to tell you, I am standing that RCOs are a good thing within every community. I'm a responsible contractor. I've worked for Abington Township. I do public work. In doing public work, it's a really hard task. But I want to share with you some recent experiences within the last 8 months of my career running Hirschberg Mechanical. Bucks County adopted the ordinance that you folks are looking at this evening. During a period of time, I was awarded 2 projects in Bucks County. I did Neshaminy Manor, a large project. I also, at the point right now, am building your 911 call center renovation. My company's doing that right now today. During the period of a time when I was awarded the 911 call center, legislation in Bucks County went through. That legislation contained a few small changes to an RCO that made it the RCO that you look at today, which is not a good RCO. I think that that's been made clear to you why it's not a bad RCO, because Mr. Cooper is much better than me and explained this to you, but I want to share this to you. I bid a project in Bucks County during a period of time when they adopted the legislation and being awarded a project there. I was the low bid and the only bid on the mechanical. Because of the integrity that my wife and I carried, I walked into discussions with Bucks County. Full disclosure of who Hirschberg Mechanical is. Full disclosure of our capabilities. During that period of time, Bucks County felt it that they awarded me the plumbing, they did not give me the mechanical. I want to share something with you. 2021 was an extremely trying time in this community around here and where I live. I moved from Abington to Upper Dublin. Quarter mile from my house, the tornado went through. Utter destruction. I never experienced anything like that in my life, but I'm here to share with you with this. My company received the phone call from the school district. The kids were in school one day. I walked around there with Dr. Yanni, and he said, "Bob, how fast can you put my high school back together?" I thought he was joking. I laughed. He didn't laugh. I said, "Okay, game on." I'm here to tell you, I am so proud of the men that work with me on an everyday basis. Those kids were back in that school with temporary heating and air conditioning. I did a multi-million-dollar project for them and put that building back together in 2 weeks. They were back in there. Your RCO tells me I'm disqualified and I don't have the qualifications. I want to leave you with one fast question.
Thank you.
I am sure, and I will excuse myself, I have a lot of respect for everybody who's in this room. I know what it is to do hard work. I know what it is to attain, to move forward when everybody else wants to hold you back. I ask you, if somebody wrote a piece of paper today that disqualified you from sitting at this table, would you be okay with it? Thank you for your time.
Thank you for your comments. Are there other individuals who are here in the room who wish to comment? And if not, we will turn to Zoom. Oh, we have, hold on Zoom a second. And Mr. Cooper.
Just don't start my time yet.
I won't. I promise you I won't.
Actually, Bob, I think you did a very good job. Glenn Cooper, Abington resident, longtime member of the Abington Planning Commission. Partner in Guy Cooper Mechanical Contractors. Just like Bob, we also do a lot of public work. We did the last renovations here at the township. We've done Copper Beach. We've done the high school. We've done Roslyn Elementary. We've done McKinley. We've done Rydell. Low bid, no problems. This proposed ordinance is restrictive and discriminatory and anti-competitive. I don't know how to say it any more clearer. RCOs are not a bad thing. the one that you guys are proposing, is horrendous. Implementing this ordinance will reduce the number of companies and workers who can bid and who can work on these projects. This reality totally contradicts what the beginning of the RCO says it's trying to achieve. How does limiting the pool of bidders and workers increase the supply of workers? It doesn't. This RCO doesn't improve the safety of the workers nor the quality of construction. Our company works in numerous municipalities, some that have RCOs and some that do not. And I will tell you that these RCOs do not do anything to improve safety or quality. Keep in mind that all of the safety, quality, financial, and required experience qualifications are already mandated and required in the Pennsylvania state bidding and qualification laws. The only beneficiary of this RCO will be organized labor. The 70% apprenticeship participation requirement in Section 10 will eliminate a lot of their competition from being able to bid on these projects. If you approve this RCO as written, you will remove a lot of the merit shop contractors who are currently performing the majority of these type of projects. This is going to greatly reduce the competition and drive up the cost to the taxpayers, which I believe is one of the mandates of being a commissioner, to take care of the taxpayers and residents of Abington Township. At the last meeting, Nancy Gens, our PA state rep and past mayor of Hatboro, got up and spoke in favor of RCOs. Also at the last meeting, Commissioner Schreiber stood up and spoke about a friend of hers at West Norton who praised their RCO. Please note that neither of these RCOs contain any type of apprenticeship requirements thresholds within them. I have copies I will distribute, and I'd like them added to the meeting minutes. These RCOs from Hatboro and West Norton are responsible and fair. The one, again, that's being proposed tonight is horrendous and horrible. The second damaging and costly part of this RCO is written in Section 4 on page 329. The concept of having the township spend a lot of time trying to legally review pre-qualification statements from all the bidders within a short time frame before the projects are bid is insane and extremely costly, and might even be borderline illegal. There are already existing short time frames for prevailing wage determinations and bonding that really won't allow what is proposed to take place. You have 120 days from the day you request your prevailing wage determination until the day a contract is awarded. How are you going to fit time in there for a township, and who's going to do it at the township that's eligible and qualified, and who's going to pay for that person? In closing, this RCO either needs to be voted down altogether or rewritten to achieve its intended purpose. If you care about the cost to taxpayers of this township, vote no to this ordinance. Or at the very least, send it back to the drawing board to be further reviewed or redrafted. As I stated before, my previous comments, I am not anti-union. But this ordinance is not good for the taxpayers of Abington Township. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments, Mr. Cooper. Yes, please come forward.
Good evening. I'm Bill Reardon from Roberts Avenue. I mentioned last month on this same topic that I spent my career promoting union labor. I worked in between management and labor for 40 years. This particular responsible contracting ordinance is garbage. It is written by a Baltimore lawyer. Jerry Waits is his name. Some of the folks here from organized labor probably know the guy. You ought to know him because you ought to know he's a shyster that promotes union-only contracting. The fact is, this document is illegal in the state of Maryland, in the state of Pennsylvania, and Washington, D.C. You should know that. You should have pointed it out already. It is not a responsible contracting ordinance. It is a union-only labor ordinance. I'd love it professionally, but as a taxpayer, as a resident, I can't stand here and support it and allow my representatives to vote in favor of it. So I offered last month to take part in any kind of activity to redraft it. Great idea. I agree with both of the contractors that spoke. Responsible contracting is a wonderful thing, And it ought to give organized labor a little advantage because they do have training that may or may not be available. But this is garbage. And if you people vote on it, then I know how I'll vote.
Thank you for your comments.
Matt Toomey, 2102 Fortune Road, Glenside, PA, Abington Township. 16-year member, went to Abington High School, graduated. Just got some numbers for union density in Abington Township. There's 8,963 union members in the AFL-CIO. That doesn't include the carpenters who just recently joined back into that local group. I'm an Abington Township taxpayer. When you get a sealed bid to say it's going to cost the township more, it's a closed bid, right? I'm putting a bid in, and it's sealed. You guys open them and see what it's going to be. So this is about safety. It is about training. It's about protecting our township from different lawsuits. And there are countless challenges in the courts, and they were overturned and upheld to say RCO is legal. You guys are a local government. You can continue to be a local government. These gives you more parameters. Yes, there are things in here in regards to apprentice programs. What we're trying to do is establish that people that can go to training and actually come out with a career. You know, if you can go on Craigslist, or if that's not existing anymore, but you go on these other websites to find someone to come to your township to work and say, hey, yeah, they're a qualified worker, right? You set standards and you stay to the standards. It may slow process a little bit, but you're going to get better contractors. Not saying these gentlemen aren't good contractors by no means. They've been in the area a long time. It just, we're finding our contractors are not coming to the area wanting to bid the job. Abington High School, no one bid the job because of the certain people that were actually bidding it. So it may not pertain to these individuals, but there were people here that actually did not get the job because of cheaters that were involved in it, right? I guess we're going to pit ourselves against it. I'm just saying when you govern, it's just to try to be more responsible, give you more teeth, try to regulate who's coming in, who's coming out. If we get federal tax dollars that's going to be coming into our township to do roads and bridges and different things, we want responsible people, right? We feel we know them. Right, you guys can have a due process and take as much time as you need to make sure that process is watched and oversight. But that's my comment, and I appreciate your time this evening. Have a good night.
Thank you for your comments. Please.
How you guys doing this evening? My name is Ryan McGinley. I've been a resident of Abington Township my entire life. I was born here. I did not attend Abington High School. I attended Germantown Academy. I served 4.5 years in the U.S. Army. I fought in Operation Enduring Freedom and Operation Inherent Resolve. I'm also a union glazier and a member of District Council 21. I also own a carpentry company with my older brother that does not do union work. And I just have something to say about that because I see both sides of it. Now, I'm a union glazier. I serve a 4-year apprenticeship program, and then I serve another year to be fully qualified. That's 5 years. I also get a degree from my program. Now, what I do for a living, for you, those of you who don't know, we install the glass on skyscrapers. Today, I was 40 stories in the air. Wow. Now, if that building leaks, it's going to cost you millions of dollars because those systems don't come back out the way they went in. They just don't. We go through 5 years of training to be competent at our jobs. And I'm not saying these two individuals aren't because they seem to be very respectable contractors. But I'll tell you some of my experience in the carpentry world. 2 weeks ago, I went into an older lady's house, about 83 years old in Fox Chase, Philadelphia, and some contractor charged her $12,000 to replace a toilet. $12,000 to replace a toilet. And then I had to fix it because he didn't install it right. So that's the problem here. Or the contractor off of Yelp that stole $40,000 from my cousin last year in Northampton Township. That's what we're getting at here. Or Hatboro Horsham, I believe, had a problem last year where something went wrong, and when you go back and look at some of these contractors, you'll see that on Friday, January 1st, the laborer was a laborer. But on Friday, January 13th, the laborer is an electrician. So how does that work? How is it that I have to attend a 5-year schooling program, get a college degree, and be professional and trained at my job, but other people can just walk in off the street and say, I'm just going to do this? These are structures. They can collapse. They can kill people. There's gas involved. You know, there's a whole number of things that can go wrong. Fire, water, anything. We're good at our jobs. We're very good at our jobs. We know everything about it, to why adhesions work, why things leak, why they don't leak, types of glass, types of aluminum. We're educated. Other guys just, they're not. And I'm not saying that they don't have the right to work. I believe everybody has the right to work. But you also need to be qualified for your job. I'm sure some of you probably have a law degree. You think I can just go be a lawyer? That just doesn't make sense. A doctor? Any of those things. My father was a federal agent. My mom was the director of commerce for the Philadelphia region for the Department of Commerce for the U.S. government. They're highly qualified individuals. My mom has a master's degree. My dad has a master's degree. They didn't just walk into their jobs and just say, oh, I can just do this. But the problem is, in the contractor world, you have a lot of contractors that do that. They call themselves a carpenter, but the reality is they worked for a carpenter for a year and said, I'm going to do this on my own. With the power of the internet and the way social media moves, I can sell 50 jobs tomorrow. It's that easy. You get a bite, you come in a little low, they pay you, and some of these guys just walk away, and they never come back, and they take cash, and there's no recourse. None. And that's all I had to say. Thank you for letting me have time.
Thank you for your comments. Is there anyone else in the room that wishes to speak to any items on the agenda this evening? If so, please come forward.
Good evening. Kirby Toomey, Abington resident, Fortune Road. I'm a union electrician. I want to piggyback off what the Glazer just said. I also had a 5-year apprenticeship. We only learn electrical and safety. That's all we do. We do it well. There's a saying that skilled labor isn't cheap and cheap labor isn't skilled. Before I ever walked on a job site, I had my OSHA 10-hour certification. That's occupational safety hazard. The people that just get hired, like this young man just talked about, they don't have that. We're all United States citizens. We're all taxpayers. We're all educated. We're all trained. We're all safe. It is culture. That's all that our unions beat into our heads. Are you tied off? Are you safe? Did you test? Do you have eyes on the ground? Who's watching this? There's hand signals. It's a whole other language. And anybody with a pair of boots and a hard hat and high vis who's not a responsible contractor, they can come in, they can be on their phones, they can be hurt, they can walk out into traffic. We are educated. We are like the master's degree holders of the trades. And if you have people here working on your township buildings, you want the most educated people in the game. That's it. I want to directly disagree with Mr. Cooper by saying that responsible contractor ordinance does not guarantee safety. Yes, it does. Yes, it does, because we're out of jobs if we act recklessly. We are audited, we are held accountable, and it is ingrained into us. We're safe, and that's why we're paid more. So you're looking at potential lawsuits, you're looking at potential injury, and that is more than your project's gonna cost if you just get anybody. I'm not saying that you guys are not safe, okay? I'm an Abington resident too. Independent work's great, but when it comes to this, you want the best in the business. The best in the business are the most educated, and the most educated are your unions, period. And thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Is there anyone else here in the room that wishes to speak before I turn it over to Zoom?
I had a question. I do talk about overdevelopment, actually.
If you have a specific comment about a specific agenda item, you're welcome to come forward. Otherwise, you'll have the opportunity at the end of the meeting. All right, let's open it up for residents who are participating via Zoom.
Ms. Lehman, you're unmuted.
Laura Lehman, Meadowbrook. I am, first of all, I am opposed to the responsible contractor ordinance because the very people who would be required to oversee this, as Mr. Cooper was mentioning, are the very people who are not upholding our laws, even tonight with items on the agenda, they are not upholding our laws. And that's the next thing that I'm going to get to. But it is stunning to see, and I'll point out, for instance, that the 100 York Apartments that used to be the Colonnade is a perfect example of all the laws being violated, and everybody in an official position in Abington know that they were violated. They knew, and they knew what the laws were, and they allowed it to happen. Okay, and that building did not get sprinklers because all the officials turned their backs on their responsibilities. But now you want in the responsible contractor ordinance You want these same officials to oversee the contracts and decide that everybody is copacetic, and this very expensive contract can go forward because we've looked it over and we've decided it's all okay. So the second thing is the Cedar Road property, which actually does not meet as Mr. Giannopoulos said, the law. It does not have the hardships there. It never had the hardships there. The owner is not even the owner. We haven't fixed that. It was pointed out a dozen times already, and you're ignoring it. You're ignoring the law. And so you want us to believe that when the responsible contractor comes, you're going to review those qualifications and you're going to say, yes, they met all of the recommendations. Well, why aren't you meeting them in Cedar Road? Hardships were not there. Modifications can't be of the applicant's making. All of the waivers and modifications are 100% because he wants more properties than fit on that property. He wants to put in 7. If he put in 6, he wouldn't need any waivers whatsoever, and that's what the law says. You can't do that. They can't be for his profit. They must be the minimum modification necessary. Well, they're not. If he built one less house, he wouldn't need any waivers whatsoever. The Planning Commission clearly has not reviewed the new plans. Neither has the public had adequate input on the new plans, having had them presented properly in a public meeting the way they're supposed to, not where you speak before you even see it, but like in front of the Planning Commission where they make the presentation and then you comment on what you've seen. All of that has been removed from us. So putting you in charge of the responsible contractors is mind-boggling to think that that would go well. The people in the Colonnade, 100 York, are living in the same conditions that the others were living in because of the lapses of the people who are overseeing these things.
Ms. Lehman, please wrap up your comments. You're beyond your time.
I will, thank you. PennDOT has not approved the necessary state issues, so any approval that you would make, if you make one, despite all the laws not being met, would have to be conditional on that. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments.
Carrie, you're unmuted. Carrie, you're unmuted. You have to unmute yourself.
Hi, I live across the street from the Huntington Valley Shopping Center. And I also am looking at their proposals.
The speaker needs to state her full name and whether or not she is a resident or a non-resident.
Thank you,
Yes,
Solicitor Clark.
my name is Karen Milovich. I am a resident. I live at 529 Berkeley. I am a homeowner and a taxpayer. I hope that is sufficient for you. I live across the street from the Huntington Valley Shopping Center, which is turning into a travesty. As you know, we had a murder there this year, although it's pretty hidden from news. Driving around that area is treacherous, and I see all kinds of waivers without hardship on this approval. The Huntington Valley Shopping Center owners have not spoken to any of us residents that it affects. We clean up the trash. We have people on our lawns. So, and we live in a historic district. So I see you have a proposal related to historic communities. I think you want to change our historic community into one giant apartment complex like you're doing in every single area that you're at. And I think it's sad. I don't know how our hospitals are going to respond to this glut of people in and around us and in and around our area. The new building on Philmont Avenue, although technically it is a different community, can fill up all 3 of your hospitals. Really, any one of these large-scale facilities that you're bringing in. So you don't have the hospital space. You don't have the hospital staff. You have to realize there's a limited amount of operating rooms, a limited amount of cardiac catheterization rooms. So if your family has a heart attack and you can't get on the table and they die, this is going to be just a drawback or a complication that you're creating here because you're artificially changing our population. And it's for money. These are large apartments owned by corporate owners. So this is really, really terrible for our community. Thank you for listening.
We can bring in the next resident.
This person has an older Zoom. Should I
So what are our options?
promote? I can promote her to panelist,
And then you can,
put her back to attendee.
yeah, that's fine.
Sarah, you're
Hi,
unmuted.
good evening. Can everyone hear me?
Yes, we can. If you could just please state your full name and whether you're a resident of the township?
Hello?
Yes, we can hear you. Can you hear us?
Can everyone hear me?
Yes, we can. Apparently you cannot hear us.
Hi, I can hear you now. Thank
Okay,
you.
just if you could state your full name and whether you're a resident of the township, then you can proceed.
My name is Sarah Love Hughes. I'm a resident of Abington Township. I reside at 100 York apartment buildings.
Yeah, so the public comment period for general
I
issues.
understand that, but I would appreciate it if you would let Laura speak to my residents, as the conditions we're living in are illegal and subpar, to say the least. So if you could please allow her to finish her statement. I'll unmute myself now. Thank you.
She will have plenty of opportunity in the general public comment period toward the end of the meeting. Is there any other residents who are wishing to speak?
Kizzy Wooten, you're unmuted.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Kizzy Wooten. I am a Abington Township resident in the 100 York apartment community. Am I able to speak on that now, or do I have to wait?
You'll have to wait. Well, this is for, we're taking public comment on the matters that we're voting on this evening, and when we conclude that, we have an open public comment period for residents about any general issues pertaining to township business.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Okay. We will now move on to the consent agenda, and for that, I will turn to Board Vice President Matt Vahey.
Thank you, President Hecker. Our first order of business is passage of the consent agenda, passage of the consent agenda listed as items A through C, and I so move.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Aye. Any opposed? Consent agenda carries. We will move on to unfinished business, and I will once again turn to Board Vice President Matt Vahey.
We have one item of unfinished business, that is BOC-03-011223. Motion to approve the preliminary major subdivision and land development for 365 Cedar Road, and I so move.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded. Before I open it up for comments or questions from commissioners, Manager Manfredi, could we have our engineer speak to the issues that were raised earlier?
Yes, Mr. Hassan is prepared to answer the questions and any questions of the commissioners.
Thank you. Good evening, Cal.
Good evening, President Hacker. Good evening, Board. Under this application, this is the second submission that this land development application has been submitted to the township. If everyone recalls, there was an initial submission. Under the initial submission, the applicant was proposing to demolish an existing residential dwelling, covered porch, garage, shed, boulder wall, and subdivide the existing 177,620 feet, roughly north of 4 acres, parcel into 8 individual lots, ranging from about 15,000 square feet to slightly over 21,000 square feet. Along with the subdivision, the applicant is proposing to construct a single-family detached dwelling on each of these lots, as well as associated sidewalk, curb and driveway, streetlights, stormwater management facilities as well. Access to and from the site will be by way of new cul-de-sac roadway named Independence Circle that will intersect with Cedar Road, which is a state road. A new T intersection will be associated with this intersection. Since then, the applicant has made a second submission. Under the latest and most current submission, the applicant is proposing, again, to demolish the existing dwelling, the covered porch, and all the other existing structures that I stated above. The site is still the same 4 acres parcel, but this time he is subdividing it into 7 lots, not 8 lots as was proposed initially. In addition, the applicant has relocated the revised stormwater management facilities from beneath the proposed cul-de-sac as we had initially instructed the engineer under the previous review through our comments, and moved the stormwater facility to the rear of lots 6 and 7. Other site improvement changes included widening of the proposed road from 24 feet to 30 feet, and additional street lighting and landscaping were provided. Please note that this project, due to its size, it will require to obtain an MPDS permit. This is a stormwater permit that will be obtained from the Montgomery County Conservation District. What this means is the site will comply fully with stormwater and ENS measures. The site will also be subject to obtaining an HOP permit, a highway occupancy permit from PennDOT because it fronts on Cedar Street. Now, I would like to share with the board that with the exception of any changes requested or that may be requested by both the Montgomery County Conservation District and PennDOT, the improvements that you see before you on the plan tonight will remain the same. Take into consideration our review letter on comments, a review letter dated October 10th, 2022. If I'm permitted, I would like to answer a couple of questions that were raised by residents earlier, if I could.
Certainly, Mr. Hassan, thank you.
Thank you, President Hecker. I'm not going to go in a specific order, but I'd like to touch on several comments that were made, starting with Mr. Yanni. Mr. Yanni had concerns about the stormwater pipe, the internal stormwater pipe being replaced or changed from concrete to plastic pipe. This is not uncommon. It's normal engineering practice. There is no issue with replacing a pipe from a material standpoint, as long as hydraulically and from a capacity standpoint, it still functions as intended. And in this case, we had reviewed it, and it is my professional opinion, it does serve the purpose and it does meet the general engineering practices. Mr. Yanni also had referenced the radius and what if PennDOT comes back with any comments about the radius. PennDOT, when they review such applications, in this case, this is an application where a private road is being connected onto a state road. That PennDOT, what they care about is to make sure that the vehicular traffic enters and exits the site safely. The modified radius, as you see on the plan, still functions properly, still is safe, and should not create any issues at all. Please keep in mind that any comments that might come back from PennDOT or Montgomery County Conservation District for that matter, as I had mentioned earlier, we will make sure the proper revisions are made to the plan. I don't foresee anything major to be done. I actually don't see any major revisions at all with the HOP to be done, as long as PennDOT makes sure, which we did already, that vehicular traffic enters and exits the site safely. There was also a mention by Mr. Yanni about slopes, 3-to-1 or 5-to-1. 3-to-1 obviously is a steeper slope than 5-to-1 is. All that means is The 3-to-1, it makes the stormwater facility somewhat deeper because what we care about is the volume and the function of the basin. If you make it 5-to-1, which is flatter, then the basin is bigger. When you are restricted from a real estate standpoint or footprint standpoint, it is common practice to make it a little bit steeper safely, not to exceed 4 feet or so in depth, because we want to make sure it's not very deep and it still functions the way intended, and it is also safe. The review letter that we had issued takes the Montgomery County Conservation District and also highway occupancy into consideration. And we do say that our approval is contingent upon, it is standard practice. A highway occupancy permit does not have to be obtained now. It is very common for a project to go through prelim and then final, while the applicant and his consultant are entering into discussions with PennDOT on what needs to be done to comply and obtain the HOP. The only thing that we make sure in a highway occupancy permit situation is the plan cannot and will not be recorded if the project gets to that point until the HOP approval and condition are properly shown on the record plan. That's when the project will be recorded. Other than that, it's not a problem. It's common practice to go through prelim and then final without or before obtaining the highway occupancy permit. I hope I touched on all the comments that were presented tonight. The applicant's engineer, Mr. Byrne, is on the call. I see him, and I'm sure he'll answer any additional questions. I'm also available to answer any questions by the commissioners.
Thank you, Mr. Hassan. Before I open it up for questions from commissioners, I'm going to see if Commissioner DePlacido would like to start.
Thank you, Commissioner Hecker. I just want to make sure that all the questions were answered. I think the fourth question was from Yanni was about the ownership of the property, and if our solicitor could speak to that.
Certainly. The township was provided with documentation, which was then provided to our office for review. And based on the documents that we saw, based on the power of attorney that we saw, the applicant is permitted to move forward with this application. That was communicated to the applicant.
Thank you, Solicitor Clark.
Yeah, thank you, Solicitor Clark. That was my only question.
Okay. I will then open it up for comments or questions from members of the board. Any commissioners on Zoom have questions? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. We will now turn to new business, and once again, I will turn back to Vice President Matt Vahey.
Thank you, President Hecker. First item of new business is BOC-04-011223. Motion to adopt ordinance number 2193, establishing procedures for certification of responsible contractor requirements, and approve resolution number 23-001. And I so move.
Second.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded. Are there comments or questions for members of the board? Vice President Vahey.
So I just want to applaud everybody who's come out to participate in the debate on this important measure. I've heard both sides, and it's been really hard to, weigh the comments. So I've done my own research. I firmly believe in the concept of this ordinance, the idea that we should be holding contractors working on our more expensive projects in the township should be held to the highest standards. I think the township taxpayers deserve that. My one and main concern was whether or not this would increase the cost of projects in the township. I found absolutely no evidence in my research to suggest that these ordinances increase the cost to taxpayers. In fact, I found just the opposite, that it's net neutral or a cost savings. So absent any concrete evidence to the contrary, I have no reason to oppose this. And should we find evidence during the course of this ordinance to contradict what I found, then we can reconsider it at that time. Thank you.
Thank you, Vice President Vahey. Commissioner Schreiber.
I want to
take a moment. Everybody knows that I am in favor of this ordinance, but I want to just take a moment to thank the almost 50 Abington residents who contacted us through email, well, through petitions and emails, and that were in favor of the RCO. We also had some people contact us by email who were not in favor, but only, I think, maybe 2 of them were from the township, maybe 3 I have, and there was only about 10 of those emails. So I wanted to thank everybody, though, that has taken the time to come out to the meetings and also to contact us, and I am voting in favor for the reasons I've said at many meetings at this point. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Schreiber. Are there any commissioners on Zoom who wish to make a comment? I don't see any hands. Okay, it has been moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed?
Aye.
One opposed.
Wait, you're opposed?
Correct, I
Okay.
am opposed.
Okay, just one. The aye threw me off. Okay,
Sorry, my mistake.
all good. Okay, the motion carries.
Next item of new business, motion to, it's BOC-05-011223, motion to approve the preliminary and final major subdivision LD-22-03, AutoZone located at 1318 and 1330 Easton Road. And I so move.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded. Are there comments or questions from members of the board? Commissioner Schreiber.
I just have one comment, because at the last meeting, when it was on the working session, I had incorrectly said that one of those businesses was closed. It is not closed, so I just want to make that clarification.
Thank you, Commissioner Schreiber. Commissioner Vaughn?
That was going to be my comment, that I have spoken to the people that work at the business next to the cleaners, just to make sure that they were still in business, because I know the people that work there. But that was my only comment from last meeting.
Thank you. Any commissioners on Zoom wish to comment? Okay, hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries.
Next item of new business is BOC-06-11223, motion to approve the preliminary and final major land development LD-22-02, Huntington Valley Shopping Center, the Chipotle pad site. And I so move.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded. Are there any comments or questions from commissioners? Any commissioners on Zoom? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries.
Next item of new business is BOC-07-011223, motion to award the bid received and opened on December 27th, 2022 for sanitary sewer internal inspections and rehabilitation, contract number 153, to Pipe Services Corporation in the amount of $217,750 as the lowest responsible bid for this project, and authorized by the township manager to execute the contract. And I so move.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded. Any comments or questions from members of the board? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion carries.
Last item of new business, and I will read this slower so I don't stumble over my own words. It's BOC-08-011223, motion to consider the cost proposal for the 2023-2025 Community Planning Assistance Contract. And I so move.
Second.
Did I hear a second?
Second.
That was me.
Thank you. It has been moved and seconded. Are there any comments or questions? Commissioner Weingarten.
Thank you. I have a quick question.
Sure.
I support this, but one thing I was curious about was that while I believe that Mike Narkowicz and Montgomery County, they're great, and I really do like them. Are there other options in this type of, with this type of arrangement? Some of those, I mean, they're people from the private sector, or?
There are other options. One of the reasons that I recommended that we reduce this contract by 50% is because of those other options. In some case, There will be other planners that might do other projects for us that money can be applied to. The advantage with this planning assistance contract is its cost effectiveness. And the other advantage is Michael Narkowicz has been doing work on the zoning ordinance and his institutional knowledge about this. We still have the subdivision ordinance amendments to review. We still have the zoning ordinance amendments to review. The County Planning Commission still does what's called Act 247 reviews. So the knowledge that he brings as a planner, the historical knowledge of the township, as well as his understanding of our ordinances, as well as his skill sets, still being available to us in a lesser amount, will still give us all of those things, but free up other dollars for other planners, as the case may be. So if we have a specific need, we'll be able to put those dollars toward that.
Okay, and I actually believe that that's an excellent plan. Thank you, Manager McBrady.
Thank you, Commissioner Weingrad. Any further comments or questions? Hearing none, all those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion carries.
That concludes the new business for this evening, Mr. President.
Thank you, Vice President Vehy. We'll now turn to the Finance Committee, and for that, we will call on the Finance Committee Chair, Commissioner Stuart Weingrad.
Thank you, President Hecker. Did I see Treasurer Blumenthal on the line? No.
Yep.
Oh. No.
He has been, but we're going to be distributing his report rather than him giving the report.
Okay, perfect. Okay, first up is item number FC 01011223, motion to approve. The November 2002 expenditures in the amount of $4,117,104.18, and salaries and wages in the amount of $2,127,259.62, and authorizing the proper officials to sign the vouchers and payment of bills and contracts as they mature through the month of February 2023, and I so move.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded. May we have a roll call vote, please?
Commissioners Brodsky, Rothman,
Yes.
DePlacido,
Yes.
Vaughn,
Yes.
Tim,
Yes.
Weingrad,
Yes.
Henry,
Yes.
Sapone, Carswell,
Yes.
Spiegelman,
Yes.
Lowell,
Yes.
Schreiber,
Yes.
Bowman,
Yes.
Vice President Vehy,
Yep, yes.
President Hecker. President Hecker.
Yes.
Motion passed.
Thank you.
Next up, item number FC 02011223, motion to adopt resolution number 23-002, authorizing the finance director to invest township funds in any and all such financial institutions as permitted by first-class township code, and I so move.
Second.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded. Are there any comments or questions for members of the board? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion carries.
Last item, FC 03011223, motion to adopt resolution number 23-003, authorizing the disposition of certain finance office records as set forth in Exhibit A, and I so move.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded. Are there any comments or questions from members of the board? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye. And that would conclude the finance agenda for tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Weingrad. We will now open it up for general public comment. Please come forward.
Yes, I live here, and I'm here this evening. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm here this evening to ask several questions. I'm not getting responses by leaving voicemail messages or email. I am hoping to get answers this evening to these questions. Please let me finish, and of course, this will be brief. I don't need the warning, but I didn't see you giving it this evening. You're already cutting me apart, and I think you counted when I spoke my name.
Just please continue.
Okay? Why does Solicitor Michael Clark and Manager Manfredi refuse to strongly address commercial blight? Several businesses and apartments on Old York Road were were given year-long extensions to correct blight and unsafe conditions. These extensions ended 6 months ago. That's a year and a half ago, Mr. Clark. Has the office of the solicitor taken any strong action? That's my first question. 2, why is Michael Clark and Richard Manfredi allowing billion-dollar corporations to destroy the environment? A few examples. BET Toll does not regularly clean the back or side area of their shopping complex. This was first reported over a year and a half ago. Rewarding BET Toll with more Abington opportunities is questionable logic. Raymore and Flanagan has created a dump site at their complex. It's been 10 months since I made the first report. What action has the solicitor taken to rid Abington of a dump site? The Raymore and Flanagan neighbors include Rydell Park and Temple Beth Am, a synagogue. They should not be near a dump site. Starbucks has not cleaned the outside of their Old York Road store in years. Much of the sidewalk at the front and side of the property is in demolished condition. The Old York Wawa has filth that spreads all over the area that fronts Old York Road. Even the Welcome to Abington sign is covered with filth in the bottom area. The Old York Wawa plans for Easton Road will likely end up trashing a large area of Easton Road. And this is very troubling. Why has the Manfredi administration decided not to regularly clean Old York Road? The islands were cleaned one time in 2022. The road and gutters go many, many months with no cleaning at all. I would say close to 6 months before they were cleaned this week. Abington is responsible for less than 3-mile stretch of Old York Road. 32,000 cars drive Old York Road every day. 58,000 people live in Abington and growing. Even the grass areas are now collecting street trash. Old York Road looked horrible last year. It looks even worse this year. Destroying Abington's major street with lack of maintenance and no commercial code enforcement is a giant step in the destruction of Abington Township. Over $60 million in taxes collected last year certainly should be enough money to keep all streets free of filth and enforce commercial codes. Mr. Manfredi describing leaf collection as street cleaning is not right. How does crippling Abington with blight, congestion, large housing complexes in parking lots that are overcrowded improve the living of Abington residents? And please, give money to Briar Bush Nature Center that has been funded for years. Can I have some answers?
Well, this is public comment, and so I will defer to the solicitor or the manager should they wish to address anything. It is certainly your choice, or we can do this at a later date.
I'm not getting answers. That's why I came in person.
Well, thank you. Your time has expired, and I appreciate
Okay,
your
when will I
comments.
get answers? I send emails, lots.
You're-
I make phone calls, lots. This is what Raymore and Flanagan looks like.
If you want to send that, then...
I
they'll send-
did. I didn't get a response.
Okay, Ms. Kubel, I will follow up with both of them.
When do I talk and get a response here?
Ms. Kubel, thank you for your comments.
But you're not telling me when I get a response.
Mr. Hecker?
Yes.
Responses are given.
No, they're
Yes,
not.
they are.
They're incomplete and not clear, and they're not your responses. They come from
Ms. Cabell,
a
please
secretary who
take your
doesn't have
seat.
much information.
Please take your seat. Thank you for your
But when
comments.
will I get a response? Do I have to come back next month?
Ms. Cabell, I'm going to ask you again to please take your seat.
You have been
No, I-
given responses. You don't like the responses, but you've been given the responses.
Would you like to see photos? I sent photos. Well, when do I get a response? When, Mr. Clark?
Good evening. My name is George Clay, and I live at the 100 York Properties. I just want to read a letter, because I know all of y'all know what's going on in that property. Officers know what's going on in that building. I've been there for 3 years now. I received a letter from their attorney, and I would like to read what their attorney said to the Attorney General office. I represent 100 York LLC in this matter. There have been some problems at this complex, but not to extent stated by me. 2 out of the 4 elevators are completely operational. This letter was also sent January 5th. Operational. Apparently, the 2 elevators in question are extremely old, and my client has hired contractors to determine if they need to be replaced. Regarding 24-hour security guards, my clients took over the properties approximately a year ago. The 24-hour security guards was something that the previous company had, but my client inherited the temporary. I have been told that this person was not really a security guard. It's a little bit over that. I'm not even worried about that. Regarding leaks to the building, my clients currently have a contract with plumbing and mechanical company that is lining all the pipes in the building due to the leaks that have occurred in the past. And it says, needless to say, we believe that the tenant is trying to distort the conditions of the apartment complex for personal gains or a rent concession. I have more, but apparently y'all know what's going on. And that right there to the letter to the Attorney General office is a complete lie. Y'all know that, I know that. We have 1 elevator, 30 apartments on 8 floors, 1 elevator. I'm handicapped. I had heart surgery, back surgery, and I gotta use an elevator. When it's not working, I gotta take the stairs. I can't. I have senior citizens that came and come out their apartments when we have no elevators. We had no heat, no hot water Thanksgiving. We had no elevators on Christmas. We've been complaining and complaining, and it seems like we're getting no response from nobody. I finally talked to Mr. Stewart. My question to this committee is, when are we going to get justice for living in this building? The same person that owned this building still owns this building. We are being treated like second-class citizens. My rent is over $1,700. You tell me if your mother, father, grandfather, whoever lived in this building, would y'all stand here and take it and let these people treat y'all like they treat us? Something has to be done. I'm not looking for money. I'm just looking for a place to raise my son. We are good people. A lot of our tenants are good people. All our tenants are good people. We are a community, and we want to be treated fairly. So my questions to y'all, are we going to get justice to help us get these people to do right by us? That's all I have to say.
Thank you. Commissioner Weingrad.
Okay, I realize that there are probably more people from 100 York that are coming in. Okay, I could say this at the end, but I'm going to say it now. Pleasure to finally meet you in person. I found out about what was happening at 101 Washington Lane, and I'm appalled. And I think I speak for the members of this board that we're all appalled. You're entitled to live with elevators that work, at least one, right? You're entitled to hot water, you're entitled to heat. What I'm gonna ask you, and I'm gonna ask anybody on the line, is please contact me, okay? Anytime that there's a problem, please contact me. I also need you to contact code enforcement for the township, okay? There are things that the township can do and things the township can't do. But what my promise to you is, whatever the property codes are, they're going to have to be adhered to, okay? But the first thing that we have to know about it. And I have the commitment of township staff and the solicitor to do everything legally possible to help you guys, okay? But the first level is, please let me know. Now, after, I would ask that we talk offline. You have that letter from the Attorney General. I'd like to see it and see how I can help you maybe piggyback off that, okay? I know you're not happy with what the attorney said, but that's what the attorney said. Okay, right. So please stay engaged. Please, everybody stay engaged with me because this is something that I think about, and this is something I'm not going to let you guys live that way. Like to hear Christmas that your elevators have no elevators in that building for 4 days, that's ridiculous, okay? And you have my pledge that I can't promise, but I can pledge that I can put pressure on township and commitment from township staff to help you, okay? Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Weingrad. And Sarah, I'll also underscore, I mean, Commissioner Weingrad has brought this to our attention, as has the manager, the solicitor, the township staff. And one of the things that we are currently looking at is ways for us to amend or strengthen our current code or to introduce other ordinances that would provide additional mechanisms for the township to be able to strictly enforce and act, in an aggressive way to prevent the conditions that are occurring there from happening again. And you will hear more about that at subsequent board meetings once we get the recommendations from our solicitor about what we can and should do, and we will be moving forward with that. Thank you for coming out. Are there other residents here in the room who wish to speak? You've had your time, Ms. Cabell. Ms. Cabell? Ms. Cabell, I'm going to ask you to sit down, or I'm going to recess the meeting. You have been getting answers. No. Ms. Cabell, I'm not going to do... Please sit down. Okay, we're recessing the meeting. The manager. You can give that to the manager to distribute, or to... Yeah.
How many? As many as you want. Well, how many do I give? Well, there's 15 total. Oh, yeah. And then if you have 17, then... I'm sorry? If you have 17 total. Yes, I do.
My name is Bob DeLucas, and I live next to Dennis Sapone. He's a commissioner on the board here. On the packet that I'd handed, there's 7 items here that need to address. Dennis had put a front deck on his house, pulled no permits, no footer inspections, nothing. He built an addition, no permits, no footing inspections, no framing inspections, no drawings. On 7 items, that's what it states on all this. On the packet itself, it said he applied for an alteration, which if you go to the guy who built the deck, the contractor, it states over 6 times, it's an addition. On follow-up, this permit for this addition was approved on these detailed drawings. This is the drawings for the addition. I want to know how and why it was approved. I'm a contractor in this township for over 30 years. I've called you, Mr. Manfredi, you, Mr. Hacker, and you, Tom, or Matt, and asked you for answers. You said you would get back to me. It's been 4 months. I haven't heard from anybody yet. Not you, you or you. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
You and I spoke.
Yeah, we did. You promised me you were going to call back and let me know why this stuff was not followed up on. I gave a letter to Jim because I think her name was Lori from your office, stating of these 7 things back in August that I wanted looked into. It was never looked into. None of them. On this, I filed a right to know to get this copy because I filled it out in a truck, because that's where your office told me to go, right to code, because nobody could tell me where to go. So when I did, and I gave Jim Selnick the copy of the thing, which was never filled up, I filed a right to know, which is on one of these back pages. And in it, it states, they never found a record of this copy that I gave to Jim. But why did I get it? If it was never found, how did I get it? So why didn't you call me back, you didn't call me back, or you didn't call me back for answers? It's over 4 months, I have not gotten one answer from any of you. He is a board member elected by us. And nobody in here, is everybody sitting on their hands and doing nothing? I sent an email to all you on Tuesday. No responses. So what are we doing? What is this?
So-
Now, he filed, you said, somebody here told me he had counsel for the front deck. Okay, he didn't have
Yes.
counsel for the 6 other items. So where do we go from here?
So may I answer
Sure.
the question?
Sure.
So the issue with the deck.
I'm a little deaf, so.
Okay. Is that loud enough?
Yeah, I'm good.
Okay. So on the issue with the deck, a notice of violation was issued. That is being appealed, and
He's canceled that twice now.
So-
How long's it going to go till, and I was never
Well-
notified of any cancellations?
That's scheduled for next week.
It's scheduled for Tuesday again.
That's correct.
Yes. So if he cancels, am I going to be notified? And why is it
If the
keep
meeting
getting
is canceled, yes, there is a
Not the meeting,
notification.
Dennis keeps canceling it. Why does this keep going on?
I can't speak to that because the zoning hearing board is a
Okay.
separate matter.
So give me the answers to why for 4 months I haven't gotten one answer from this.
So, I'm going to turn to Mr. Manfredi in a second, but following the email the other day, there is going to be a review of all of those issues to determine.
Why did it take 4 months?
I can't speak to that.
It is my understanding that your right-to-know request was requesting information on permits, and since permits weren't issued, there was no information to give to you. Your email the other day, which gave very specific complaints, is what was necessary for us to act on.
You were told
there's no-
to get, I told you I filed for right to knows. And you could look at it. I asked for permits, but I also asked for drawings, inspections, so we can't just say permits.
We can't give you what we don't have. So there are 2 different things. There's 2 different processes.
Right, you didn't, because he never did it.
You made a complaint. You gave us very specific complaints you mentioned to the board and to me. By the way, I didn't get it, but it was forwarded to me. Upon those written complaints being made, I immediately turned around and directed code enforcement to inspect, review, and investigate all of your complaints.
And?
If those complaints are found to be valid, notice of violation will be given.
Well, can you answer, how'd that permit I'm a contractor for 30 years in this township. How did that permit for the addition get approved on this?
I cannot answer why the issuer gave that permit with that
Say that
submission.
again.
I cannot tell you why the person who issued that permit based on that submission rendered it complete. I will review it.
I told you about this.
I know you
Yeah.
told me about it. I need to review it myself. I need to review it with legal.
3 months?
But what was the date of that permit?
The date of this permit was May 15th of 2020.
And it was
I
issued.
brought it to your
And
attention
it was
in
issued.
September.
And it was issued.
It was issued,
Correct.
right. On what, that drawing? Are you kidding me?
Are we talking about the front deck?
Okay.
No, we're not talking about, we're talking about his addition.
So the short answer
This is
is
not the
that
place.
the complaints that you have brought forward are going to be reviewed.
Okay.
And the issue of the deck is currently in the hands of the zoning hearing board next
Okay.
Tuesday.
Will I hear back from you guys when this is, I mean, is this going to go on for months again?
No, the answer is yes. You will hear back after the review is complete.
And who am I going to hear back from?
Presumably the township manager.
It will either be me or the Director of Code of
Yeah.
Community Development. Or, or our solicitor's office.
Okay.
Yes, yes, you will get a response.
Somebody from the
I'm sorry.
township.
You will get a response.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you. Is there anyone else in the room that wishes to speak?
Glenn Cooper, going back to the RCO general comment, I would like to make a suggestion. First, I'd like to thank everybody. This is not easy for any of us. You guys are almost like referees. I get it. It's difficult. It's not pleasant. But can I make a suggestion? There are things that come up that need to be discussed with people versus you get 3 minutes, you guys meet, and then a vote. This is not something that was subject to any time. It would have been much better handled, I believe, if there could have been some informal discussions. Commissioners standing up and saying, I have questions. What is this all about? And it's not just the RCO. There's a lot of other things that are going on. And I know you guys have limited time. We all do. But I want to make a suggestion, and just keep that in the back of your mind. Some things don't have to be voted yes or no, and that quickly. Maybe there's a forum where some informal discussions could take place. Second of all, Commissioner Vahey, I think you mentioned you did some research. Since you made public comment, I would ask that that research be submitted for the record. I'd love to know what your research is that says, and it's not funny, this isn't a joke, that you come to the conclusion that it works out to be the same. Nobody's ever asked me for that research. I think I certainly made it clear I could provide and help. I will provide you with some research, and I would like it to be presented publicly. Thirdly, who here is the expert on this that can answer a question? Is it the solicitor, Michael Clark? Is it the manager, Mr. Manfredi?
Depends on the question.
Who knows what the management directive is from Pennsylvania? Do any of you know? Mr. Manfredi, my manager.
Management directive on what?
Management directive.
I know what a
Management directive from the state of Pennsylvania.
regarding,
Do you know what it
they
is?
issue a lot of management directives.
From the governor's office, 21509 amended, contractor responsibility program. Has this been submitted to any of you? Have you all seen it and read it? Pretty simple question. Most of the things in the RCO that you guys think, assuming you think that you're getting better safety, quality, et cetera, are already covered in this. If you've seen it, then my apologies. If you have not seen it, why didn't you see it? This is important stuff. I honestly can't sit here and I don't know if any of you have seen it or read it. I'm not blaming, but I don't get answers. And I'm part of this township, and I'm part of the planning commission. I applaud all of you. I know this is thankless and this is tough, but somewhere we're missing some human element and some feedback and maybe a little bit better form. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Cooper.
I do want to.
We will now turn to the residents on Zoom. Did you wish to speak, sir? No, please come forward. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to miss you.
That's all right. Thank you for your time.
Sure.
My name's Ed Paley. I'm an Abington Township resident. Served 6 years in the United States Marine Corps. Met my wife, who lived in Elkins Park, who is a lifetime Abington Township resident. I'm currently a glazer with Local 252. What Mr. Cooper is speaking about, I believe, is the 70% of the workforce needs to either have been currently enrolled or have been has gone through a registered apprentice program. if he has a problem with that, or Mr. Hirschberg, why don't they send their workforce through a registered apprentice program? What's wrong with training? There's nothing wrong with training. It'll only make it better, right? So that's all I have to say.
Thank you for your comments. You may come forward.
Bill Reardon, Roberts Avenue. Again, my commissioner's somewhere on Zoom there. Look, I've made it no secret that I think this was a foolish vote. The angry part of me wants to know what your budget is for litigation. And I'm sure that's available to me as a resident and taxpayer. And I'll pursue that with the township manager, because I think you've opened a door. You've missed a really fundamental issue here. Responsible contracting is fine, and the state acknowledges it, the federal government acknowledges it. Your code enforcement people should acknowledge it. I mean, they should know it. I can fault you for not having read the directive. I frankly can't fault the administrator for not having read every directive from the state. But what you've missed fundamentally is the difference between an ordinance regarding contracting, which I think a lot of people, including the non-union contractors in the room, and myself as a somewhat neutral involved party, are fine with. I don't think you need it. I think Abington has a habit of enacting ordinances that mimic existing federal, state, and local laws because it's favorable to interest groups. And you had 50, that's 1/10 of 1% of less than 1/10 of 1% of the Abington Township residents. Be curious to know what percentage of the township workforce is unionized and not unionized, which one are in construction trades. But those are all things that you ought to be thinking of as politicians and as leadership in this township. But you've missed the core issue. The core issue is this ordinance addresses workforce on the job. It doesn't address contracting. And look, I told you this is an illegal ordinance. That's why I ask you what the budget is. I don't know if anybody's going to mount a challenge to it. I'm not. Frankly, I don't know that it's that important to me. I'll eventually move out of Abington Township because there's so many things going on that are so much in this way that it's time to go, you know, and you can build some more apartments. Roberts Avenue, you get a lot of disenchanted people there. They can build another apartment complex. But I want to know if you can sustain if somebody does present a legal challenge, because you have no right, absolutely no legal right, to control the workforce of any contractor who enters the township, with the exception of making sure that they are legally citizens and that they pay taxes. Unfortunately, there are creeps out there that violate those things. But I think you've made a serious mistake today. I think that it could have been avoided by some discussion. I offered, nobody answered. Sounds like a theme, I don't know. I don't have enough experience to tell you whether that's true or not. But I'll tell you that you haven't seen the last of me because, you know, this stuff needs to be dealt with in an open forum. And I applaud you guys for your volunteers. Two of you are not. And the two of you I hold to a higher standard. I sat in your shoes. I know what the standard is. And I'll hold you to it as a taxpayer.
Thank you for your comments. We'll now move on to residents who are participating via Zoom.
Ross, you're unmuted.
Hi, Ross Abel, Upland Avenue. First off, just wanted to sympathize with the folks dealing with the conditions at 100 York. I've been hearing various people talking about that for the last few months, so I hope you can get some sort of remedy and safety. I wanted to, first off, encourage the board to continue and the township to continue pursuing sidewalks on streets to the east of Jenkintown and Abington, where we are missing a safe way for our residents to get around by foot for kids, elderly, and adults. Also, I want to encourage the township to invest in protecting cyclists and bike lanes with physical barriers. And then beyond that, I wanted to ask that the township work with PennDOT and our surrounding townships to implement traffic calming on York Road. It's a very dangerous road. There was another death just a few weeks ago in front of the hospital. Those crossings that go across York Road, where it's just striped, but there are no signals, it's very dangerous for anybody to try to cross with cars going so fast. You have these big stretches where there are no lights, and somehow people are expected to just walk in front of cars, even on the fairway, because we have such a high speed limit. I try to use those crosswalks, and I have to just wave my arms in the air because no one will stop at the crossings. Anyway, so I would just love it if we can continue to try to pursue protecting people getting around by means other than cars and transportation, supporting transportation alternatives. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments.
Carrie, you're unmuted.
Hi, I have a couple of comments. I know Ross calls in frequently. You didn't ask him where he lives and if he is an Abington
Yeah,
resident
I missed
and
that.
taxpayer, as I am.
I agree, I did miss that, but he has established that in
There are
previous
also,
meetings.
I don't believe he is a resident, and therefore, I guess if that's what you're asking, correct, then perhaps he shouldn't speak. I don't know the rules for you. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay. I was doing some math, and first of all, I feel sorry for the people at 100 York Road. This is just the example of what we're building. Ross wants to put bike trails and walking paths everywhere in a place that is overloaded with people and cars. So I would propose not putting more bike paths, but stop overloading our population when we don't have the space or the services for them. And this is the whole crux of my point. We have 92 police officers for our current population. That gives you one police officer for every 630 people, and you're adding more people. That's pretty bad. We have 1,000 hospital beds, which gives you one hospital bed for every 58 people. And we have 32 advanced life support ambulances, which gives you one life support ambulance for every 1,800 people. That's atrocious. So you don't even have the services in place for the people that are here. I will make a point. My grandmother died because she didn't have an advanced life support ambulance in Philadelphia. One didn't come, we didn't have one. We got a police officer when CPR was in progress. So this will happen to your family too. So we need to look at the numbers and the services versus just planting things everywhere. Thank you for listening.
Thank you for your comments. We can do that.
Hi, good evening. Sarah Love Hughes, resident at 100 York 101 building. Ross and Carrie, thank you for your kind words. With all due respect, Commissioner Weingarten, your answers and response are not good enough. The problems here and code violations are well documented over a course of years, not months, years. So what I would like to do is leave you with a visual. When you're going to sleep tonight, think about the woman on Christmas Day with no elevators who had to carry her portable oxygen tank to the 5th floor. on foot. Think about the older couple that I saw that I happen to know live on the 4th floor. They're lucky, right? They're not on the 8th floor. He was starting at the bottom and already breathing heavily as CHF and diabetes. That's what he had to do. They were going to take a hotel room for the evening out of pocket because of it. Think about my neighbor and friend who is 8 months pregnant and taking the stairs to her apartment because she's afraid to get into the one, at times, working elevator, because she's afraid of what could happen to her at the stage in the pregnancy, unattended, stuck, and scared. I keep a clean unit. I have roaches. I have mice. I have no response from management. I have a half bathroom that doesn't work. I have an air conditioner unit that hasn't worked since June when I moved in. That maintenance order is still in. The building is unsecure. The fire extinguishers are out of code. Inspection 2021. I'm not going to send you pictures. You know all of this. So think about the people that you have been ignoring and offering deaf ears and lip service to. People, humans. Think about us when you go to sleep tonight. And if you can live with it and you're okay and you continue to be inactive, then that's something that, you know, that you have to live with and accept within yourself. But it's really, it's so very, very sad what you all have let go and know about over the course of years. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments.
Kizzy Wooten, you're unmuted. Kizzy Wooten, you may speak.
Hi, thank you. Good evening. My name is Kizzy Wooten. I am a resident tenant of 101 Washington Lane Apartments, 100 York Apartments. I moved here in 2018, and at the very beginning, when the building was reopened after being condemned already, there were numerous issues from the very beginning. When I asked maintenance about all the issues, they said none of the plumbing, electrical, or heating or air conditioning had been renovated. In 2021, we had power outages about 3 times a week in the summer with no air conditioning. Right now, as we speak, the windows freeze completely. You can't even open them in the wintertime when it gets really cold. My dishwasher backs up dirty water, and I was told by maintenance that there was a 10-year backup of residue in the drain and to use bleach to clean my dishes in the dishwasher. Of course, I can't use it, but you know, sometimes I take the risk, which I should not have to do. The cable wiring has been completely cut out. So I don't even have access to Comcast Essential Internet program, which I was approved for. And even the President of the United States enacted the Affordable Connectivity Program during COVID for more affordable internet services. I can't get this service because this apartment building will not take responsibility and wire the apartments properly. And some people in this building have Comcast and some don't, and it is available. I was told by the property manager, just get Verizon. I reached out to the FTC about this also. The numerous fire truck alarms, it causes me high anxiety every time I hear the sirens coming. I know they're coming here. People get stuck on the elevators like every other day. They stop sending the fire trucks. They're sending police now. I don't even know if that's standard or up to par. Like if somebody is sick or like the lady just said, pregnant, need assistance, you know, can they actually help? The fire alarm system is faulty. I reached out to the fire marshal twice. I was instructed to call the alarm company who managed the system. They did acknowledge that there were error messages. There was a lot of smoke, almost what I thought was a fire in the unit underneath me. I had to stop my job, call maintenance, the office, and say, please hurry up, come over here, please check. I think it's a fire, because none of the alarms work, so we don't know whether the alarm, it's a fire or not. And they came to my apartment about 5 minutes later. They rushed, they seen the smoke and rushed downstairs. It was that serious, to check and see what was going on. The property manager, after I reached out to them twice, they never even had the respect for me and my family to reach back out to me about the issue and just let me know what's going on. The locks on some of the doors are broken. I have a video where you couldn't get out the building if there was a fire. Recently, and that happened about 8 weeks ago. That just happened. And so that was something else. The elevators, recently, 2 weeks ago, like they said, elevators were down, none of them were working. I was trying to do laundry. My son had to, I'm on the 8th floor, my son had to do it for me. I couldn't do it. I could not carry my laundry up and down 8 flights of stairs. Should not have to do that. The police were actually here yesterday on the very one crowded elevator and acknowledged and said, we're fighting for you. We know this isn't right. This is the only elevator. They're trying to do their job. Where people are trying to go to work, it's crowded, there's only one. We can't get our packages up and down the stairs or in and out of and this building is pretty large with really long hallways. The elevators are a major problem with the trash situation. When the elevators are down, the trash piles up. The trash, there have been numerous incidents where the management let the trash sit for 3 weeks in a trash closet, did not pick it up, did not have anyone in housekeeping that would do it. People quit all the time because they got to pick up 100 bags of trash.
Ms. Wooten, we appreciate and are very concerned about the issues you've raised. I'm going to ask you to wrap up because you're beyond the 3 minutes.
Absolutely. I appreciate that. So I'm just really asking that, I'm just basically asking with this level of dysfunction, total disregard, blatant and intentional, unethical practices, it's a disgrace, it's shameful, and it's a moral hazard. And I'm just asking, I'm just horrified to even think that our community public officials will not rectify and help us in this situation. Thank you.
Thank you.
Laura Lehman, you're unmuted.
So there is so much to unpack here. This evening has been unbelievable. So Mr. Weingrad, you know that I've called you multiple times and you won't return my call. Mr. Hecker, you know I met with you and Mr. Spiegelman when you first came back. How many years is that now? And told you that these people were in danger and I needed your help. Ms. Carswell, you met me over at Whole Foods. We talked about it. You wouldn't talk about it after that meeting. You had your meeting with me, you were done. Commissioner Vahey, we met in the parking lot. I don't even want to describe the disrespectful way that you handled my telling you that people in your township were in danger. Okay, so now you're hearing what's happening, but let's walk it back for a little bit, because basically all of you knew this, all of you knew it while it was happening. And all of you know that Mr. Clark shouldn't even be sitting there. He was part of this. Steve Klein was part of this. He's sitting now as chief of the zoning board and doing this in other towns. He's doing stuff in other townships. That's also improper. So we don't have anybody who's willing to stand up for the residents of this township. And that is, we need people to stand up for commissioner, because you people need to stand down. You need to stand down. You've known this for so long. The police have known it. The firefighters have known it. Firefighters even warned someone not to live there because it wasn't safe. So this is what I was talking about before. And tonight you passed the Cedar Road thing that did not follow any of the rules or laws. You're immune to rules and laws, and you're sending these people on a wild goose chase. I want to tell you that I just looked up the sale of the Colonnade to 100, owned by Old York LLC, and it became 100 York. And in 2021, they sold it. Okay, I'm going to back up for a second and say in 2016-ish, maybe 2017, Mr. Cohen testified that he needed the use and occupancies to get a $90 million loan to pay off his $60 million renovation loan. And he needed those use and occupancies. We won't talk about the fact that that would be defrauding somebody, that he wasn't really able to get those use and occupancies unless the judge allowed him. And so he got approved, he got the use and occupancies, and he has what he determined in court was over $100 million. I guess, have to be over $100 million for somebody to lend 90 million on it.
Ms. Lehman, please wrap up your comments. You're at the end of your time.
I'm going to ask you, Mr. Hecker, because of how much time I put into this, to let me finish this information that everybody needs.
Ms. Lehman, I'm going to ask you to wrap up in the next 15 seconds.
This was sold for $10 in 2021, and it's listed on Montgomery County records as owned now by AJH. It's not owned by AJH. In the letter that Mr. Clay read to you from the Attorney General's office, the owner is 100 York Road LLC.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Lehman, for your comments.
These are the same games.
Remington, you're unmuted.
Hi there. Can you hear me all right?
Yes, we can, thank you. Just please state your name and whether you're an Abington resident.
Hi, yes, I am an Abington resident. I live on Highland Avenue. My name is Remington Darren. I just want to start by voicing my support for the people that are living in the York Road apartments. What I've heard tonight is pretty appalling. I hope that you guys find a resolution sooner than later. Tonight, I mainly want to suggest to Abington is pop-up bike lanes. Pop-up bike lanes are something that allow the township to test out cheap ways of providing safe routes to places for residents in Abington. Once the township puts in bike lanes, they will find that the infrastructure will see an increase of bike ridership and also a decrease in cars on roads. I would like to add that the comments that we don't have space for more people just isn't true. What is true is we don't have room for more cars. We don't have enough room because of the streets and the parking lots. The notions that hospitals, schools, fire departments, police departments, and other services will not expand is frankly not progressive enough of a thought to belong in a changing world. Not everyone can or should pay for a single-family housing, and Abington should push for urbanization and densification by adding mixed-use housing, bike infrastructure, and public green space. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. I believe we have one final resident. Or maybe two.
Julian, muted.
Hi, everyone. Hello, commissioners, fellow Abington neighbors, and my fellow 100 York tenants. You've heard a lot about me. I am the woman who's 8 months pregnant who lives at 100 York. So I know I've had a lot of neighbors there who have helped me up and down the stairs. So my name is Julie Mahone. I am an Abington resident and I live at 100 York Apartments since 2021. I know I'm one of many voices from 100 York that has had more than one issue with the place that I call home. I'm happy to hear that Commissioner Weingrad is promising us that he will help us toward working toward better living conditions here. And I heard you, Mr. Weingrad, and I have written to you and I've sent you my complaints of the safety issues, pests, fire alarms, mold issues, issues with the elevators, issues with security, as we have no security in the building, and the trash issues and much, much more. And I know this meeting is recorded, so I'm going to hold you to your promises. I love Abington and I love being a resident here. There's always something going on and we have such a great community here and I'm happy to be a part of it. Even this meeting is so exciting. As a soon-to-be mom and 8 months pregnant, I look forward to giving birth at Abington Jefferson, but my life and safety are no longer just the priority. I need to be sure that my child is safe in the place that I call home, but the 100 York Complex does not follow the mission that Abington Township upholds of equality and equal protection under the law, and something must be done. I also want to give you some perspective. When the fire alarm goes off at 3 a.m., like it does often, currently I pack up my purse and put on my warm clothes and grab my keys and run out the door. I don't imagine it being that easy with a newborn in the dead of winter. Or if my bathroom ceiling rained down a waterfall of plumbing that hasn't been fixed in months, I am given keys to a vacant apartment all the way on the other side of the building to use the bathroom, and I have to go shower at a friend's house. That is not fun. So I don't imagine bringing a newborn into a vacant apartment all the way on the other side of the building to take a bath in a tub will be any easier. So I just want to put on the record, if it's possible at all, to have a larger meeting scheduled with the commissioners, the fire marshal, code director, and code inspector, the township manager, and board president and vice president to discuss the issues of 100 York. If this is possible, great. I'm sure I have tons of neighbors who would attend. It seems at this point we're just waiting for a resident to severely injure themselves or possibly die. It would be great to get a list of who else we can contact if there are things that can't be done. I know I spoke to Kim Ham, who said that elevators are not in your jurisdiction and mold isn't either, but there's still big issues. Because at this point we just need action, and what has been going on here with AJH management is just not right, and we need your help to get things done. But that is all I have to say. So thank you for your time.
Thank you for your comments.
Elaine, you're unmuted.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Elaine Brewster White, and I am also a resident of the 100 York Apartments. As I sat here listening, I was not going to say anything, but I would be doing my family and I and also the other residents a huge disservice. I agree and with everyone that has spoken on behalf of the tenants here. As I was sitting here, tears were literally filling my eyes just hearing about, you know, what we have been experiencing. I've been here since 2019, so I have gone through 3 property management companies, and to hear the other day that this is the same landlord, but I thought it was a different landlord, it just truly breaks my heart. You know, you hear all the time, you know, people give certain accolades of if you're working, if you're doing what you're supposed to do, you expect to live a certain way. And my thought is, if I were paying $1 to live here, they have the responsibility to provide a certain service, and they do not. And that's the problem. There are excuses after excuses, and one of the huge problems here is that they do not communicate about what's going on here. It's always after the fact. We have to contact them. You've heard, like on Thanksgiving Day, there was no heat and hot water. We didn't hear about that from the property management office. We heard about that from other people when you turned on your water or when you went to cook a meal for maybe family members or friends that were coming over. I distinctively remember having to take pots and pans down 7 flights of stairwell because I was going to a family member's home. And here's the thing, it's like no one cares. That's the problem. No one cares. There's a disregard for humans. There's a disregard for life. My daughter is 11 years old, and she's afraid to live here now. She's afraid to live here. Anxiety, stress, being overwhelmed. Imagine an 11-year-old girl going to catch the school bus, can't get on the elevator, and she has to go down the stairwell. I won't let her go down by herself because it's unsafe. There's no cameras. There's no accountability. That's the problem. There's no accountability. And so I hear that you all have heard about this, and I thank you for listening, but there needs to be a call to action tonight. There needs to be a call to action. If you can't do that, then please point us into the direction of someone who can, because we're fed up, we are disgusted. Some may be able to move out, but some may not. I do what they do every day. I manage medical office buildings, and one of my chief concerns are my tenants and how I communicate to them. And that's my chief concern. But here, we don't get that. So we need to know who can help us. I don't want to breach my lease because I know that it'll go on my record, but where's the accountability from AJH to not breach the terms in their lease concerning the residents? Thank you very much.
Thank you for your comments. Ms. Cabell, you've had your... Well, no, you've already spoken, and so you're... They didn't. Please bring in the next resident. Ms. Cabell, not now. Why? Because you've already spoken during the public comment period, and you've used your time. We are moving on to residents who haven't had a chance to speak this evening.
That's fine, but when can I comment to you? You don't answer phone calls
Miss,
or email.
please go on to the next resident.
KR, you're unmuted.
Hi, can you guys hear me?
Yes, we can. Just please state your name for the record, please.
Yeah, my name is Carla Robinson. I am, excuse me, I am a tenant of 101 Washington Lane, which is in the 100 York complex. I do want to second and third and fourth all of the sentiments shared this evening. I also did not intend on speaking this evening, but I feel like it would be a disservice to the people that I live with, especially my family, if I didn't. I do want to acknowledge that it was my family that was stuck in the elevator Christmas morning at 1 o'clock in the morning, in which I had to call 911 to get assistance. I also contacted the emergency maintenance number and was only given an emergency answering service. I never received any sort of response or call or email to acknowledge what happened, and we were down without elevators for days. At this point, I implore you that this is not just about people wanting to complain or to just voice their opinions, but more we are needing some assistance and immediate assistance. This I would absolutely deem a state of emergency, because God forbid anyone in this building or in this township is harmed or hurt, and we all get a loss, if you know what I mean. So to avoid those things, we are asking not just for a response or an email or a meeting. We need immediate action to rectify all of the things that you have heard this evening through other previous phone calls and emails, that something be done immediately. And I also would like to lastly acknowledge again that when this complex was called the Colonnade, that this is still the same ownership from then. This building is unsafe for anyone, regardless of age, and this is not fair, and something needs to be done. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Before we move on to the next resident, I want to make sure that folks who are here and listening understand that the township did issue a notice of violation about the elevators in December, and there's a 30-day cure period by law for the owners to address the problem, and they have until tomorrow. And if they have not addressed the problem by tomorrow, we will immediately issue citations around that issue. And as I mentioned to you, Sarah, earlier about looking to strengthen the laws, the ordinances that we have on the books, our current code requires that the building have one functioning elevator. We are exploring the feasibility of increasing that requirement so that there is a more aggressive approach toward enforcement, and that's one of the mechanisms that we'll be talking about with our solicitor. Well, how about we talk offline after the meeting? Thank you. All right, we have two more residents.
John, you're unmuted.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can. If you could just give us your full name, please.
Jonathan Krantz. I'm a member at 100 York Apartments as well. I just find it appalling that you're just saying that you're finding out about these issues now. If we have this many residents that are complaining about this, this has to have been going on a long time. Last winter, my heat in my apartment was out for over 20 days. I was in contact with maintenance and with the business office, and they said, we're sorry, we're doing the best we can. We can give you space heaters. That was last year. This year, for about 6 to 8 weeks, the hot water has been on and off inconsistently. Over Christmas break, for example, the water was out for about 5 or 6 days, where many of us probably had to take showers with buckets of water from our sink that we had heated up on the stove. This was also on a day when it was the coldest day of the year so far, where I couldn't even open a window if I wanted to because my window was frozen shut. Additionally, I've had maintenance come in the past 2 years because I've had mold on my ceiling. All they've done is scraped off the mold, put plaster on, and now the mold is back. Additionally, there's no accountability for security. We did have security before. We have no security now, just a concierge who is there. We don't even know when. There's no hours posted. They come and go as they please. Often at 8 o'clock, the front desk is unmanned. Anyone could come in, do whatever they want to any of us. Again, I'm just very appalled that you say that this is the first you're hearing about all of this, because there have been so many of us complaining today. I demand, as a citizen of Abington, that you take accountability for this and try to justify it. Many of us are living in unsafe conditions, and this is a dire emergency. Thank you.
Thank you. Manager Manfredi, did you want to say something?
If you would like.
That's fine.
I believe it's important for everyone who has taken a time to express your concerns and their valid concerns. You heard Commissioner Weingrad. There have been many commissioners over time from October, really from the middle of November, as our police have gone into the building, as fire have responded, they have reported them to us. And we have been working to respond and working in every way, eagerly, and I mean eagerly, because everyone does want to help. We set forth plans between Christmas and New Year's, but going back to October, in contacting L&I and continue to escalate what it is that we do. We are taking it very seriously. We are working on it. We have a plan in place to make sure that every complaint is heard and addressed daily. Our police are aware, our fire are aware. We have been taking actions. Notice of violations have been sent. We have been communicating with the Department of Labor and Industry. So this idea that we are turning a blind eye to this is not correct. As the complaints have come in and have increased, so has our diligence in working to get this resolved. We had a meeting this week. We had a meeting immediately after the Christmas holiday to try to put plans in place to find out what we can do. There are other things, as President Hecker has indicated, that we are considering doing, that we're talking with legal counsel to be able to do. So please understand the fact that this Board of Commissioners and myself and my staff and the solicitor are sitting here quietly listening doesn't mean that no action has been taken or will be taken.
Thank you, Manager Manfredi. Commissioner Bowman. Yeah, would you mind? No. And then you go there. All right, let's get the last resident, and then Commissioner Bowman.
Oba, you're unmuted.
Hello.
Good evening. If you could just give us your full name for the record, please.
Okay, my full name is Abimbola Bosede. I'm one of the residents in the Hold Your apartment. So last year summer, my air condition wasn't working, and I had to make notice to them that, okay, my air condition is not working. The maintenance guy came and he tested it, and he was trying to tell me that, okay, the order for air condition. Then he told me 6 months ago that they were expecting. Up till now, They haven't done nothing. Y'all know how the heat wave was so crazy last year. So one night I was asleep, then the heat wave got me in my house. I had to rush to the bathroom. My belly was so hot. I have a diarrhea. I was pooping I pooped for 7 times before dawn, before daybreak. I had to rush myself to the hospital. I had to call my friend. I can't drive, I can't do nothing. I called my friend to come, he should come and help me get to the hospital. Okay, that one goes. I went down to complain. In fact, I asked for the property manager that I want to see property manager. At least, if you can't do nothing and you know you can't do nothing, at least you will come forward and address issue. I understand what's going on, but at least somebody should at least come and address issue. This lady refused to see me. During this time, all our packages were scattered. There was no concierge. All our packages were scattered downstairs. Every packages in the whole building was outside. I was expecting my package. I had to find my package outside the building. That one goes, it's too much. My TV circuit trip off. I put it in, telling them, okay, my TV circuit trip off. I can't even watch a TV in my house. I had to be connecting wires like a Spider-Man in the house. The end of December, last year, December, my house was frozen as if I live in Antarctica. I had to be turning on my gas. My family came from New York for a visit. My family can't stay with me in my own house. I cried for this. We had to look for Airbnb outside for my family to stay. I was crying. Up to now, nothing has been done. On the floor on top of me, there was a mold. I don't know what happened. Somebody said they opened the tap water or whatever. There was a mold in my bedroom. It took them 3 months. We were treated as if we're just nothing. I tried to call. I went online, called their office number in New Jersey or wherever. I spoke with somebody. Oh, okay, they'll come, whatever. Every time you call, somebody will always lie, and everybody's, pretending. Everybody's covering for each person in this AJH whatever management. I don't understand. I work in the hospital. I work with Jefferson.
Sir, we appreciate your comments.
I'm supposed to come to my house and be comfortable in my house. I work 16 hours every day.
Yep.
But when that comes to my house, it's always something else.
Sir, we appreciate your comments. I'm going to ask you to wrap up as you are beyond the 3-minute limit.
Okay, so I'm pleading. Y'all, whatever, the commissioner can do at least to help us. It's too much going on in this apartment.
Thank you. We hear you, and as Manager Manfredi said, we will continue to do so. Thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioner Bowman, you wish to make a comment before we
Yes,
adjourn?
thank you. Just to join in the manager's comments, obviously, we know that a lease is a contract between a tenant and a landlord. We will certainly do everything that we can from a public perspective to make sure that he is in compliance with our laws. But we are not in a position to enforce each and every aspect of a lease because we are not a party to that contract. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Bowman. Commissioner Weingart, I'm going to let you have the last comment before we adjourn.
Thank you. For those at 101 and 100, thank you for coming out, and I think it's something that we all I needed to hear, and I think we all needed to hear. But for those that have had complaints, have issues, I'm going to give you who to contact, and that is, I'm going to give you a website, code@abingtonpa.gov. You can also make any kind of complaint about the building on the Township Citizen Service Request tool. And anybody that has reached out to me, any resident over there that has reached out to me, I've gotten back to, and including a gentleman here and Julia on the line. So please, if you reach out to me, it's something that I can monitor and make sure that the township can be as legally aggressive as possible. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Weingrad. With that, we will adjourn and take a 5-minute break before we reconvene for the working session. Thank you.